Hi, I'm Akshay Miklineni, and this is my podcast on From Rice to Dice, the journey through Asian racism. Now comes the very important question on why am I so adamant on this kind of topic of Asian racism? Well, first of all, I'm Indian, which means I'm a brown person and a minority. And where is India located? You guessed it, in Asia. And so technically, I'm Asian, and this relates to the social construction of Asians because Indians, such as myself, are categorized and seen as inferior compared to races in the United States, such as those of a white class, and we're seen as a lower socioeconomic class. And this is ultimately affecting us, and not just me, but other Asians and even Asian women. And this is very problematic as we our true potentials aren't recognized, and we aren't just nerds who only study and eat rice. Like, I mean, I do really like rice, but it's not like the only thing I do eat. Only thing I do, and what I have for as a quality. I have many other qualities, and it's not very shown because society can't doesn't really recognize what I can do and what I can add. Episode 1: The Curation of Our Separation from Society. This relates to the social construction of racism in the United States, especially with Asians. And we see this ever since immigration, especially when the Chinese came to America, who look for opportunity and hopefully to make a living and support their families. However, it only just got worse from there. White people just saw them as inferior, and it left many Chinese people impoverished or having to take on high risk jobs to hopefully provide for their families. And unfortunately, these high risk jobs put many uh, to death or even gave a lot of injuries because the white class just didn't see them as important. They just saw them as different, and it undermines their potential and what they add to society. They don't allow them to contribute positively to our society. And this relates to the story of Hao Huan's story. Hao Hong Wong was actually a railroad worker in Canada who was on the Canadian Pacific Railway, and this railway included a lot of Chinese immigrant workers. However, their treatment was just horrible, horrendous, and just terrible, as it first of all killed a lot of Chinese people who wanted to make a living. Many were underpaid, overworked, and the working conditions were just terrible. His story talked about how he had many friends who eventually were killed off due to explosions, and it was a very heartbreaking way to see them go as they only worked to support their families and hopefully make something of themselves in America. However, trying to make an opportunity in a different land didn't go as expected, considering the fact that white people just saw them as inferior, and their contributions were never recognized because because we were different. Asians were seen as different. Chinese people were seen as different. And was this fair? Of course not. Now on to episode 2: The Female Asians and Their Struggles. So as the term yellow fever goes, which is the attraction of Asian women or of Asian descent, it is a derogatory term for Asian people, and especially for Asian men who are sometimes accused of yellow fever, and it makes them look like creeps who fantasize over Asian women. And we saw this in the Reddit post from the I am the asshole post where this woman accused her boyfriend jokingly about having yellow fever, but he got offended by that term because he was seen as a creep who only cared about Asian women. But why necessarily Asian woman? Well, she just accused him because apparently his past girlfriends happened to be Asian. However, it just hurt his feelings because he happens to be Asian himself. But why particularly only Asian woman? Like, why anything else? Well, according to society, which actually objectifies women, what Asian women are especially objectified because they're overly sexualized and they're seen as sex workers who are submissive, breedable, and sometimes small, petite, cute, given the which is used in the form of sexualization, and given the term geisha girls, which just is another way of, which is basically a slang word for um, sexually uh, sexually attractive Asian women. And this is a very terrible concept because it underestimates Asian women and their true talents and what and their potential because they have a lot of potential. They are equal to us, and just because of because they are seen as like beautiful and good looking, it just puts on a very bad label on them. It makes them just seem only like sex workers and are very overly sexualized. Their potential is underestimated and they can contribute a lot to society because of the stereotype they have on them, and their importance is just not seen, unfortunately. Now on to episode 3. Sure, we all enjoy rice, but is that all to it? And of course, I mentioned before, I really do like rice, white rice especially, but we also got to look into our society, which created the model minority myth, which is a concept based off stereotypes. It's basically the idea of and just because if something causes it doesn't mean it's true. Like, for example, just because something's reoccurring doesn't mean it is like a true thing that happens in a certain race. It's just like with a lot of East Asian stereotypes, being good at math, smart and intelligent, having kung fu and martial arts skills. Well, first of all, the being good at math. Many like Asian people, such as myself, grew up with strict parents who often made us study a lot, which in turn kind of influenced our school life and our education, making us seem very good at math due to practice. However, it's just not math. That's the only thing Asians are good at. And just being smart and intelligent isn't something we're born with. It doesn't work that way. It's something you gain along your life. It's not something you are just genetically gifted with. And having kung fu and martial arts skills, like, okay, just because uh, types of fighting styles such as taekwondo, karate, jiu-jitsu were created in Asia doesn't mean it is true among many Asians that they are just genetically born with the reflexes of a martial arts master. It None of this works this way, and it's all due to the model minority myth, which influences people's views and what it what it makes Asians look like. It makes Asians look like this because they've seen it before. They've seen it in movies. They've seen it on TV. It's because of the representation, and just because it's reoccurring in many of these concepts doesn't mean it's true. Not every Asian is great at math. Not every Asian is smart or intelligent. And of course, not every Asian knows kung fu or martial arts. None of these are the best implications of Asians. It undermines their true potential because it just sees them as only a smart and intelligent and doesn't see what else they are capable of. and it puts a unfair view and perspective on them. Now, continuing with the episode, we move on to South Asian stereotypes, and unfortunately, as a fellow brown person, I have dealt with these. And I've been always told, do I really like curry? I mean, of course I like curry, but that's not the only thing that's like wrong about it. It just tastes good. And apparently, I'm also old-fashioned tech support, as seen by this guy with the headphones and everything. Already getting misjudged by that because obviously I'm supposed to be good with computers. And going to college, many people ask, am I a computer science major? No, I'm doing public health. Of course, I'm not even that good with computers or coding. And unfortunately, I do have Indian friends who are in computer science. I mean, not really unfortunately, but it of course stays with the stereotype. And of course, the accent. Unfortunately, I can't really do an Indian accent because I was born in the United States, and just growing up, I never really got the chance to speak Indian languages such as Telugu or Hindi. I can understand them, but I'm just not very good at speaking them. And many people just mock me and try to like do an Indian accent to hopefully rile me up and just infuriate me. And unfortunately, I got a very called very messed up names. Because I remember back in junior high school, and I cut my hair like very very short because my parents just wanted me to have short hair. And ever since like one time the next day after my haircut, someone said I looked like a terrorist because I was brown. And not gonna lie, it was kind of messed up. And it's just it's just horrible that imagine a kid just being called a terrorist because of something this ridiculous. And the idea of Indian people called pedophiles because we have all heard about like the Facebook Indian guy hitting up white girls on Facebook. It's just wrong because it occurred doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't work that way. We can't base it off like things in past events, as it doesn't even value what brown people are. It doesn't value all South Asians. We aren't tech support people. Not all of us are very good at using computers. Not all of us can do an Indian accent. For example, me. And of course, many of us like curry. I mean, who doesn't? And no, none, not us are. We are not terrorists or even pedophiles. Like, I don't even know why this stereotype even exists because it's just very wrong. It's messed up, and it's just undervalues us, and we're seen as a lower level and a lower class in society because of it. And now I want to call attention because we really need your support and your follow because we need to end this discrimination. I, for one, can relate because it was really difficult to grow up as a minority in the United States. People like judging you and your occupation because of your name and appearance. Because I remember one time I was like, so this was a funny story. I joined a Zoom call, and this was like during like Ramadan, right? And during Ramadan, during that Zoom call, I joined a little late, and the first thing my professor asked me was, "Oh, did you just break your Ramadan fast?" And I just like sounded confused because I was just like, "What?" And then I straight up said over the Zoom call, "I'm not Muslim." Not all of us are Muslim. And I was just like, it's because of my name, literally. Uh, it sounds like I'm Muslim because I'm brown, even though that's a religion. And unfortunately, I get mocked and greatly undervalued due to the model minority placed on Asians, because Indian Asians, of course. And our true potential is not recognized due to this misjudgment, because we're seen as a lower class. But now, I need your help and funding to hopefully spread the word and teach our future and our future children about this issue, give more insight into how these assumptions make us feel and what role we play in society. Because we need to eliminate these stereotypes on Asians, and, and of course, even stereotypes from different parts of Asia and Asian women. It it makes us seem undervalued and at a lower class. It seems us makes us look like objects, makes us look like horrible people. It does, and unfortunately, that's what that's what a lot of people see us as. And this even relates to when COVID occurred. Do you remember when COVID occurred and many Chinese people and especially Asian people were discriminated against because COVID came from China? And even Chinese in the United States were given a lot of hate, a lot of Asian hate due to COVID. And many of them accused random Chinese people of giving them COVID, although they were United States born. This is an unfair concept, and unfortunately, we have to deal with this in our society. However, with the right funding and with the right support, hopefully one day we can eliminate this social injustice and we can bring, we can allow us to be equal and allow us to not be different anymore from white citizens. We don't need this hierarchy anymore. We need to be equal. We can't just we can't just use social construction as a concept to discriminate us. We can't just make it separate us from society. We are one. We are, we may be Asian, but we are all human. Overall, I want to thank you for listening to my presentation and my rant about Asian stereotypes and, of course, me being brown and all. And thank you so much, and have a wonderful day.